All right, it's time for another episode of Callie Chronicles. Today we're going to cover tracks, not episodes, but tracks 5, 6, 7, and 8. And the reason we're going to cover these 4 tracks is because they're very similar. They're all what we assume were high shoulder shots. I'm just going to briefly touch on 5, 7, and 8. And then we're going to show you track 6 because this one's kind of a typical track of a high shoulder shot, and the video shows it pretty well. Let's just say that. All right, so let's talk about track 5 real quick. Track 5, the hunter shot the deer high, close to the shoulder, but he says the arrow penetrated fairly deeply into the deer's body. Doesn't mean it got lungs, but we were hoping maybe it was low enough to get lungs. So I took the track, and the problem with this track is the hunter tracked it to like a small canal, and he didn't know if the deer crossed the little canal or if it went right or left or whatever. So he called me in there with Callie to help determine that. He couldn't find any more blood there. And so I put Callie on the track. She kind of searched around at first, and then she took a line along the canal to the right. And we went quite a ways down that line. And then she wanted to cut across the canal. And that's where things got kind of hairy. I got one of those raspberry thorns in my boot, in the bottom of my foot. Feels like a nail.
I'm sorry to hear that.
This is like a pond right here. Come here, girl. Callie, come. Callie, come. Come. This way. Callie, come. Callie, come. Whoa. Whoa. Son of a biscuit eater.
Are you all right over there?
Yeah, I'm just trying to get out of the water. I fell into a hole up to my waist. Come here, girl. Come here, girl. Just give me a minute. I'm trying to get stuff out of my pocket that might be wet. Hold on, girl. Callie, come. Come. Callie, come. Come. Oh. Oh. Come. Come here. Come on. Come on. This way. Come. Come. Come on. Come on. Come. Right here. Right here. Almost. You're almost there. Come on. So with this being basically not just a canal, it's basically like a big bog out there in deep holes. I basically buried myself up to my waist in water. I got a camera wet. Luckily, I was able to dry the camera out, and it eventually started working again. And all the other stuff in my pockets, I was able to dry out. So anyway, so there was no way of crossing it right there. Because Callie wanted to cross there, I took her around to the other side. We drove around, took the highway around, and came in from the other side. And Callie seemed to be tracking a little bit. I couldn't really tell, but we kind of scoured that area pretty good and never came up with the deer. If it was indeed a high shoulder, there's nothing above the spine except for muscle. If you get below the spine, you're going to hit lungs. And I know there's a lot of people out there that think there's a void or no man's land. That does not exist under the spines. The lungs feel the entire chest cavity. They don't. What a lot of people think is the lungs are like balloons. They contract and expand with air. They don't do that either. It'd be impossible for the lungs to expand if there was a pocket of air around them. The lungs fill the entire chest cavity, and as your rib cage, or the deer's rib cage, goes in and out and the diaphragm goes back and forth, the lungs, are breathing. And so, and that's the way they operate. They're always filling that void. There's no void. If you hit above the spine, you're going to hit nothing but muscle, and most times those deer survive. So that's out of the way. So everyone watching, now there is no such thing as a no man's land below the spine. I told the hunter after we searched a while that his best bet was to try to get a boat or get something out there and check that bog. As much trouble as Callie had getting through there, and I almost went under, it's likely if that deer was mortally wounded, it got stuck out in that bog and it's probably laying out there dead. I haven't heard back from the hunter, so maybe the deer did get across and still out there roaming. He does have cameras out, so if he does get the deer back on trail camera, he will let me know. All right, let's jump to track 7. Track 7 was a high shoulder shot. The hunter pretty much knew that was the case, but was doing his due diligence and wanted a dog out there just to confirm it. Put Callie on the track. We did advance the track. We found the arrow.
Here's your arrow.
We went another, I think it was 100 yards total from the initial shot, or where the hunter backed out. And we found a couple small puddles of blood. Nothing that looked like lung blood, looked like muscle blood. I let Callie continue tracking. Ended up jumping a deer, but the deer looked healthy. It didn't look like it was injured at all. So I'm not sure if that was the deer we were tracking. It was bedded down in the night. But it's not uncommon for them to do that, but possibly it was our deer. I couldn't see the injury side where the arrow had impacted. I could only see the left side of the deer as it bounded away, but it looked healthy. Restarted Callie several times, and she took a few lines, and we ranged out 500 yards or more and never came up with any more signs. So we ruled that in as a non-lethal hit. Track 8, another minimal penetration. Hunter thought maybe he got into the vitals. He wasn't sure. Put Callie at a first blood, and without knowing where all the other blood spots that the hunter had found, I let Callie track. She did a big loop and came back to a property line that we could not get permission to track in, but we had no confirmation the deer went there, no blood to confirm that. So I went back to the hunter and had him show me the blood, and indeed Callie followed exactly where the hunters had found blood, and we actually found blood another 20 yards, 25 yards beyond that.
Here's blood right here on this leaf. So I did come this way. I think this is the line she took earlier.
That proved to me that Callie was locked onto this deer and was tracking. Again, she took another loop, basically back to that fence line. She did it 3 times out of like 5 or 6 restarts. She took me back to that same spot. A couple of restarts, she branched off from there, and maybe she was following another deer, or the hunters where they'd walked out. I don't know. Basically, with not much room to work with, we kind of lightly grid searched the area using Callie's nose, but I was fairly confident that deer had crossed that fence into the private property, and those landowners, or that landowner, wouldn't let us track over there. So maybe this fellow will get the deer back on trail camera as well. He has some out, and so he's going to let me know as soon as he knows something. All right, so let's get to track number 6. This is your typical high shoulder shot, minimal penetration. And in this case, the hunter was shooting low poundage and a short draw length, and that was his abilities. There's nothing you can do about that. But what you can do is shoot a heavier arrow and maybe shoot a fixed blade, solid fixed blade broadhead. It will definitely help you when you hit bone like shoulder and that sort of thing. We're not even sure if this was high shoulder. He thought it was a little bit lower, and maybe the leg bone had stopped it, or the scapula, that ridge on the scapula. just in case he did get into one lung, and that's what we were assuming was best case scenario, we got on the track about 4 or 5 hours after he shot it. And when you're after a one lung hit deer, you either got to give them a lot of time to expire, more so than like a gut shot, or you keep tracking them and pushing the deer. A deer cannot sustain themselves moving and running with just one lung. They can, if they're at rest, they can, they'll stay alive for a lot longer. But anytime you can get on a one lung deer, you continue pushing it, and a lot of times they won't go far, and they'll collapse and succumb to their injuries. So that was our strategy in this one, to get in there, track this deer, even if we jumped it, to keep getting after it. So I put Callie on the track, and here's what happened. Well, let's see where she goes. A lot of times she searches off the track a little bit, but she'll get back on it. I meant to give you a walkie-talkie. So which way did it go from here? Okay, just let her, she'll do some exploratory stuff. Yeah, she likes to explore to make sure she's taking the right route. Here's a walkie-talkie here. See it? I just threw it on the ground, walkie-talkie. You hear me? This way you can talk to me and the mic will pick it up. Are we still on the track? Well, it looks like she's on it then. Let's let her go. You want to wait right there, or do you want to follow me? Well, follow me, that way in case we hit a property line, you can let me know where we're at. And you didn't track any farther than this. They're talking to the walkie-talkie.
A little bit.
So it kept going that way? All right. Let's let her sniff a minute. She's gonna... See how she didn't smell it. Just hold back for a second. She didn't smell it, so she takes a... Yeah. Are you sure it went that way? Okay. Yeah, I smell a deer. Yeah. Hold on, girl.
It went through this thing?
Went under it, probably. Just keep an eye out for blood. You'll be surprised the stuff they go through. Yeah, I smell deer. I can smell one. You don't smell that? Check these leaves here for blood. I'm trying to look, but we're going so quick. Here's your arrow right here. Well, that means we're on the track. Broken off. You grab your arrow. I'm gonna let her keep going. Yeah, I smell the deer. It's pretty pungent. Here's another stand. Okay. Oh! Yep. Part of the job. Yeah. My boot came off. Trying to do too many things at once. Now we need to really look for blood to confirm. Now here's a bed. Yeah, let's see if there's blood in it. Yeah, there's blood right there. Easy, girl. Slow down. What's that? What, say that again.
Now that the arrow came out, I can see blood on the ground.
That's good. You still seeing blood?
Yeah. There was a big mound and it was on the mound.
Easy, girl. We're coming up on a driveway. I'm gonna stop right there for a second.
Alright.
So as you can see, we're seeing drops of blood, but none of it's really that fresh. We went by one of the houses, and when the homeowner's kid was out there and said that he saw the deer run by him earlier. So we knew we weren't fresh on this deer right behind it, and the blood indicated so also. So we continued tracking. We were trying to catch up to this deer, and either it was going to be dead or we were going to jump it from his bed. So now we're crossing a lot of properties in this tract. This is kind of more of a suburban or a residential type area of small tracts of land, 3 to 5 acres. We were stopping wherever necessary to get permission to continue tracking. So I'll cut all those parts out. I'll just show you the track. The rest of it continue flowing along.
Good girl. Come on. Let's take a walk down here. All right. So, Callie, come. Try and get all these cables out of the way. All right. So the deer crossed this road driveway behind us into a kind of a residential area. I don't know for sure. I'm gonna pause the track while the hunter gets permission from the landowner. All right, we just got permission from the landowner. Find it, girl.
I'm in front of you.
Oh, okay. Looks like his hooves marked. Yeah, it's got bloody hoof marks. It's got blood running down its leg.
There's a church back here, so we should be fine because it's Saturday. The Lord would want us to find us here anyway. Oh, there's blood right there.
Yeah, she's on it. I see. Yeah, at this point, we gotta just. Yeah. The blood is dry that I checked. I felt the blood, it's dry. Yeah, just keep an eye out for blood, make sure we're still on it. You see any blood on this trail? I see tracks.
I see blood.
We're seeing blood again. Who knows, that deer may do a circle and end up at your house.
You sit up in the front yard, just tip over.
I got blood going down to this creek here. Easy, girl. Stop. Yeah, I know. Come here. Come. It's shallow enough to get across. Let's inspect some of that blood again. There was a splattering up there.
Yeah, it's all from here.
All right, we're tracking. All right, Cal. We're back at last blood with a deer across the creek. We got blood on this side. We're gonna let Callie pick it up. Find it, girl. This way. Find it. Find it. She sweeps back and forth. I hope she's. Oh, I see deer tracks. Yeah, this is it. See if. Make sure there's blood right here. See it? You see any blood? Did you see the deer tracks, right? All right. I wonder if she's still on it. I don't see any tracks anymore. Easy, girl. All right, we gotta confirm. All right. Let me go down the bottom of the hill here and see. It could be down here. Yeah, I got blood here. Yeah. So it went that way. Where'd it go, girl? Yeah, don't be afraid to tell me you see blood, because just to confirm, we're still. Yeah, she's on it. That's why I'm hoping it went down. Huh? Are you still seeing blood? Huh? You still see blood? Okay.
So Callie seemed to lose the trail a little bit at the stream we got to, and she actually went down the middle of the stream for a little bit and was sniffing the limbs that were overhanging, and I thought maybe this deer went down the middle of the stream and its back was rubbing, or the side of the deer was rubbing these limbs that were hanging off. I let her just kind of work the area real good. Eventually just let her take us where she wanted to go, which she took us down the creek on the opposite side of where we came from, and she took me quite a ways, and we ran into posted signs, and so without being able to get in touch with the landowner, we had to stop the track there. But we'd already come to the conclusion this deer wasn't dead. We'd traveled about a mile at this point, or close to it. But as a precaution, I decided to run her up the other side of the stream on the way back and just see if she picked up anything.
We'll search that way on the way back and follow the creek. We got the wind in our favor, and then see if she picks up anything or if we see anything in the woods. Let's see if we can find a crossing here. I'm gonna still look for blood on these trails as we walk back, because every once in a while you get lucky and stumble on it. Come on, girl, this way. The one thing I hate about fall colors is everything looks like drops of blood. Huh? What is it, girl? We must have jumped one. Either the one we're after. Yeah. Stop. Stop. Yeah, look right here. Come here. Look like
Oh, right here. Look at this. Right there, right here.
This deer, we thought, may have been watching us as we were on the other side of the stream, because from that wound bed, that last wound bed we got to, you could actually see about 40 or 50 yards across there to where we were walking when we came down the stream. But at any rate, we had fresh blood there. Callie was barking and pulling very hard, like a hot track. So we knew we had just jumped this deer. And at that point, I called the track. The hunter was welcome to go back in there and continue tracking manually, I guess. But as far as Callie and myself, our job was done. With this distance, the location of where the hunter thought the arrow hit, the minimal penetration, we're talking about just a couple inches here maybe at best, that deer wasn't lethally hit in my opinion. So that's what you're going to see on a high shoulder shot. These were 4 of them that I just showed you, and so we had a string of non-recoveries there. But typically you'll get good blood trail, not always, but typically you'll get a good blood trail at first. It's bright red blood, and that's just because it's highly oxygenated muscle blood, and then it'll peter out real quick. And that was the case on a lot of these tracks, except for this last one. There was just enough drops here and there to keep us going, and we were able to, or the track 6 I should say, to keep us going. And so you can see the end result there. I'm not saying to give up your track. Make your best effort to track this deer and try to locate where it went, and to either come to the conclusion that it's still alive or either find it dead. But don't be surprised if you shoot one high in the shoulder and you never see it, unless you find it catch it on trail camera, that is. So we got some more interesting tracks coming up soon, and as soon as I get them edited, I'll get them posted. But until then, I hope you guys are enjoying the Callie Chronicles. And if you like these videos, the show, the Callie Chronicles, be sure to subscribe, hit that little bell notification. That way you get notified every time I upload a new video, and tell your friends about it.